going on? Ryan here, setthepacetriathlon.com. Greetings, salutations, good afternoon, good evening, good lunch period, whenever you're watching this video. We're going to talk about IRONMAN Alaska today, and we're going to talk about the run course and kind of my take on this run course. Now, I'm not doing the event. I have athletes that have done it or are going to do it because this is the first one in 2022. I've made plans for athletes doing it, so I always go back and look at the course, look at the profiles, make sure I kind of understand the course and the venue to tailor to those athletes to get them ready for the race. But in doing that, sometimes I'll make videos and I post them, and people, they gain some traction. So I thought I'd just record these, not only for my athletes but for everybody, and put them out there. So hopefully this helps you out. If it did, give it a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. If you're thinking I need to add anything, let me know. Put them in the comments as well. Like I said, I live here in Kansas City, so I'm not boots on the ground there in Juneau, Alaska to see really what the terrain is like. So keep that in mind. I'm just going off the information on the course maps. This is how usually I tackle like Ironman Tahoe, Chattanooga, places that I just can't get to. This is your best resource. Just go on the maps, kind of do this, and look through the course maps, the elevations, go to Google Maps, whatever you got to do, and research the weather and all that kind of fun stuff, just so you're prepared as you can be on race day. So with that, we're going to jump into IRONMAN Alaska. We're going to talk about the run course. So you hit the main page, go down to the courses. I always download the map just so I have my computer so I don't have to worry about it. So if I need to check them later, I can. So jumping into it, so basically, if you look at the weather, the average air temperature at this time of year is about 68 degrees Fahrenheit. So by the time people are getting off their bike, you should be reaching the high temperatures for the day. So it's in the 70s. But keep in mind potentially that if you're one of the back of the packers, you're going to get in there when the sun starts setting and it starts getting cool. So, maybe in T2 you don't need especially warm weather gear, but maybe in your special needs bag you put in some items that you're okay if you don't need them or you throw them away. So maybe it's just some old arm warmers, an old running jacket or something like that to keep you warm. I know I needed this in Lake Tahoe in 2013. When I got to the run course, I went ahead and kept arm warmers on that I had underneath my jacket that I rode my bike with. And in my special needs bag, I had gloves and some other things that I actually needed because my hands were freezing at that point. So keep that in mind on the run course special needs. You might pack some extra warm weather gear, especially if you're going to be out there after sunset, because average air temperature 68 means probably when the sun goes down, it's going to be in the 40s and possibly 30s. So we are talking about Alaska here, so it does get a little bit chilly out there. So keep that in mind. So jumping into the run course, let me check it out. It is a 2 course, so keep that in mind. So when you go out there, you will hit this course 2 times. So as you can see, this is a little hodgepodge. You got transition here, so you run out, you're running north, come out to a U-turn, run all the way down, and then you're running on this trail system. Now, more than likely, let's hit Google Maps, shall we? Let's get Keene D Trail. So Juneau, Alaska. Let's just dive in there, shall we? Live action shot of going in here. Off Lake. And then the whole loop. And when you look at the map, you got your river system here, you got your trail system here. So let's look at the layers. So when you got your trail system, you're looking in here. I mean, it is pretty much, you are going to be out in the wilderness. So I would definitely consider, looks like you're not going to be on a paved trail system. So, and like I said, I'm not there in person, and I haven't seen much talk about the run course. But if you're on the trail system, it's looking like there's going to be quite a bit of Turn veer left to the trail. Second time towards the finish line. Courtyard camp. So, I'll just read through to see if it says any kind of note. But I mean, like this little spaghetti loop here when you're going inside, doing some situations here, and hitting out. Notice, so you do your first loop. At the end of the first loop is your special needs bag. So if you're feeling a little bit chilly or something like that, and you need some clothes or whatever, you're going to wait to 13 miles till the point where you get potentially warm clothes. So if you think you're going to need that, I would definitely put some stuff in your transition bag. T2 bag, you will get back at the end of the day. So whatever you don't use, you leave in there, you get back at the end of the day. Whatever you put in personal needs, if you don't take it out, leave it there in the course, you don't get it back. So be mindful of that. Whatever you're putting in that special needs bag, you're not getting back. But if you get the T2 and you decide, nah, I'm feeling pretty warm, I don't need this stuff, I think it'll be okay for 13 miles, leave it in the bag and go on your way. So just keep that in mind that the temperatures could be interesting at this point in time. So when you do this first loop, I definitely, the temperatures aren't going to be extreme. 68 degrees Fahrenheit, I don't think it's going to be the end of the world. Maybe you put on some sunscreen if you have some. Maybe some sunglasses if it's going to be sunny. I definitely would pack sunscreen and sunglasses. Just make sure you have them, or grab some sunscreen there if you can't fly with that kind of stuff. But just be prepared. I don't think, you look at the elevation profile, 1,300 feet of gain. I mean, that's respectable, but it's not going to be. It's not an Ironman Chattanooga. There's going to be a few climbs and whatever, but it's not going to be the end of the world. So I definitely, don't spend everything you have on the bike course because you're going to need it for the run course at certain times. I don't think it's going to be like super challenging. There may be sections here, if you're pretty wiped out, you may have to walk up some of these little climbs here, but overall, it doesn't look like a total killer course. There's not like huge mountain climbs or anything like that. I think I'd just be careful on this trail system here, especially if it's not paved and it rains or something like that. It could be soggy, kind of messy or whatever, but more than likely, Ironman's pretty good about picking trail systems that's like either crushed gravel or something like that that's not paved, or gravel trail of some sort, because the last thing you want to do is stick you on a dirt road and then it rains and everybody's running through mud and muck. Now transitions are another thing. Sometimes they don't pick that well and it rains and it's just mud and muck, but they do the best they can. So I would just be mindful of that this when you run on this trail system back here, it looks pretty rural. So I would not count on this being a paved situation. The trail system is kind of interesting. So, it looks like it is not a paved trail system. Now, some of these, when you zip in here, you got the little hook in here. Some of these situations, look in here, and it looks like the system may or may not be paved. Unfortunately, we don't have a good enough view of that. Let's just see here if it has any information. Awesome hike, Thunder Mountain, steep and fun. Blueberry patches are dope. Took a break there. It was perfect to hike. A lot of debris from the storm blew through. So look at these pictures, and it does look like you've got paved sections here. So hopefully nothing too crazy or obscene in the pictures. Some nice views this is looking like though, but for the most part, so it looks like you've got a paved section. So I would consider that you may be running on. I would not change your shoes. I would not to go to some off-road trail shoe or something like that. Your on-road running shoes should be enough for what these trails are going to be. I doubt Ironman's going to put you out there on a rugged trail system, especially that's not their brand. That's not what they go for. They're not off-road running or anything like that. So I definitely would just keep the same shoes you got, but definitely focus on, if you're back in the packer, staying warm. Once that sun goes down, I think it's going to be a little bit of a struggle to stay warm, because when you're on a trail system, you're going from water station to this little area here. That is a kind of a long distance to be going, just because you look at the trail system, there's just no access in some of these areas that get an aid station too. So if you're going to be this little section here I think is going to be interesting because I think you're going to be a long period of time without any access to an aid station. So if you're out there and you're in the trees and you're in the dark, you got to be careful. And bears, I think, are going to be a real situation. Wildlife, so make sure you read the athlete guide and what they say about wildlife. Make sure you're prepared for that because I think that's going to be a situation out there that you may run into. You may see problems with that. You know, you look at the Canadian races. There have been photos and videos of bears on the race course and stuff. So don't just run through and think it's not going to be a problem. Make sure that you're versed on how to handle that situation because I think wildlife will be interesting to deal with. But overall, like I said, I think it's a very doable run course. I think it's going to be a little bit of a challenge. So I would definitely bring your worker mentality to it. It's not like a flat pancake course, but it's not Ironman Chattanooga with 3,500 feet of climbing on the run or anything like that. So, but this overall is a challenging course. I mean, you got about 1,500 feet of climbing on the bike, lots of rollers, and you come through the run, 1,300 feet of gain on the run, and you're running through kind of a wilderness area. You might be dealing with some animals, you might be dealing with some nature, you might be dealing with non-paved trail systems, long periods of time in between aid stations. So it's going to be interesting. Pack your lunch. I think it's going to be not the easiest of courses. It's not going to be like super killer, but I think it's going to be definitely a definite challenge. So whoever finishes this race, I think should be very proud. This is going to be, hopefully it stays around. Hopefully everybody comes out and it's like, oh, this is epic. That you keep this forever. It was great. And we see this for years to come. So with that, I want to wrap up the video now as we get race reports and people do this year in 2022. I may come back and edit and add some stuff later or something like that. So pay attention for that. But other than that, if you have any questions or comments or suggestions or anything I should add, put them in Facebook comments, put them in YouTube comments. I get notifications. Like it on Facebook, subscribe on YouTube, hit the notification buttons, all those fun things. So with that, hopefully this helps you out. And with that, I'm going to wrap up the